Hello. So, based on the readings this week from both of the chapters that I read, one of the first things that I learned about obviously was the vocabulary, the ethnocentrism, communication norms, and tacit culture. Um, and ethnocentrism just meaning that I would apply my ways and cultures and beliefs to another person, um, the way they're acting, and judge it using my culture, which could make a lot of rifts in communication, especially with me as an interpreter coming from the hearing world. If I were to apply my standards and behaviors and beliefs to a deaf person, it could mess up the line of interpretation and communication. Communication norms is just basically what you normally would deal with in your society, how you typically would communicate with people. And tacit culture just kind of goes hand in hand with that, like the unspoken way you would behave, or um, what's accepted and what's not within your culture. And then high versus low context culture, I thought that was interesting also, and I was not surprised whatsoever that they kind of considered deaf culture as a low context culture because they are seen as blunt people, and kind of get right to the point. So the second thing is the importance of the role of an interpreter. It showed in the other book, Reading Between the Signs, that interpreters weren't as skilled as they are now. Obviously, when it first came out, they were a lot of volunteers, which I thought was interesting, and it was people stating that they weren't doing work as a full time interpreter because a lot of times they wouldn't even get paid, or would get paid very little. So it was really out of the kindness of their heart that they were doing these interpreter services. More likely to be immersed in deaf culture, but also more likely to have errors because they might not have been skilled in all the areas that they would prefer a person today to be skilled in. Um, and I found that interesting because the main book talked about the wholeness of an interpreter. They basically say they want you to have your stuff together if you're going to interpret for people now. So going from people volunteers just donating their time to now, they want you to have uh, finances, um, anger, emotional issues, physical health. They want all of that. Um, Preferably taken care of before you're interpreting for someone, because all of that can play a factor into interpretation for a deaf person. Um, and then the last thing I thought was interesting was the leaning from skill of an interpreter, like strictly skill. Do you know how to do it? To are you immersed in deaf culture? Because it stated that it's pretty much something that you're missing. They can learn as much as they want to and become skilled in the mechanics of ASL. But if you're not immersed in deaf culture, you may be missing a whole other side of communication. And if you can't properly take that from what the deaf person is trying to portray to you and then communicate it in a way verbally to the doctor or teacher or student or whoever you're communicating to, then you may be messing up the line of communication and kind of building distrust amongst the deaf culture and community. They want people that are qualified. They want people that are immersed in the culture. They want people that have respect for their culture. And I found a very interesting line in there. It was like, it's not always that you're, let me see, I think I see it right here. It's not always that you're welcome. Sometimes you're tolerated, and I get that completely. We're not a part of it. We're just supposed to be here as a helping hand as we can. But if we're gonna do more damage than support, they probably don't want our help anyway.